Welcome to the Go Influence Life podcast, the place for people who want to rise above the noise, stand out from the crowd, and create lasting influence in leadership, business, and beyond. I'm your host, Christian Hansen. I'm the best-selling author of the LinkedIn Top 10 ranked book, The Influence Mindset, the art and science of getting people to choose you. Together, we're going to dive into inspiration, motivation, and application for success and influence. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about creativity. Now, immediately, half of you are probably thinking, oh, that doesn't apply to me. I'm not a very creative person. Well, the sad thing is that I've heard a lot of people say that. The truth is, whether you believe it or not, you are creative. And sometimes digging in and finding ways to access that creativity can be a challenge. But oftentimes we have mislabeled it and we've been taught from other people that we're not very creative when that simply isn't true. And hopefully this story will give you a little bit of motivation to continue to try and possibly see your own gifts for creativity in different ways. I was once in a job interview where they intentionally asked impossible questions. So, are you a pioneer or a settler? The interviewer probed. I responded, I think I'm a pioneer in trying to explore new ideas, I said, trying to get some confidence in my response. But then they asked, so what's wrong with being a settler? Man, question after question, they continued to pose two opposites and then grilled me on why I didn't choose one of them. It was incredibly frustrating. There was no right answer. They finally asked a question that really got me going. They said, are you creative or are you patient? I had had enough and decided to push back. That's when I said, that's a false dichotomy. Creativity demands patience. Taken aback, they didn't know how to respond, so I took the opportunity to continue. I said, you may not know this about me, but I write music. I've learned it takes a long time to cultivate, prune, and develop an idea from its infancy to fruition. In fact, a piece of music that is only 4 minutes long may take about 4 months to write because creativity in its best form takes time. Sure, there are fits of inspiration and passion, but those are rare. Rather, in my experience, I've come to learn that creativity demands patience. And if you hire me, I'll show you what I mean. They seemed a bit ruffled by how I flipped the table on them, and after the interview, I knew I had failed. But a couple days later, I got the job offer. What does this have to do with influence and success? As I said before, most people don't believe they're very creative because we've been taught to think of creativity as something that belongs to the realms of the musically, artistically, or otherwise gifted people. But the truth is, if you solve problems, you are creative. In fact, you are very creative, and creativity demands patience. Thomas Edison and his miraculous inventions come to mind. However, the thing that most people don't know is that Edison did not invent the light bulb. By 1878, the idea of a filament burning in a vacuum tube of glass had been around for decades. Rather, Edison's genius was experimenting and finding which filament burnt best and longest. Here's what happened. In 1840, British scientist Warren de la Rue introduced a light bulb that burnt a platinum-based filament. The catch was, platinum didn't burn for very long, and it was extremely expensive. But his idea of a glass bulb endured, and over the next several decades, many other scientists built on de la Rue's innovation. But they all ran into the same problem. What material was affordable and would burn for a long enough time? Enter Thomas Edison. With the rapid growth of electricity, Edison wanted to create a source of light that rivaled the traditional gas and oil lamps at the time. So he got to work. Building off the progress of others, he first tried a platinum filament, but ran into the same problem as de la Rue 38 years earlier. Then he tried cardboard, reduced down to carbon, and coated in fine soot. It worked, but not long enough. Then he tried other materials and tested from grasses to sugarcane to cotton, linen, hemp, and even palmetto, the state tree of South Carolina. over the course of a year, and by his records, Edison tried 2,774 different ways to make it work. Now, we hear that number all the time, and we just kind of rack it up to Thomas Edison working hard, but let's actually break this down. That means it was about roughly 8 to 10 attempts per day, or about one failure every single working hour. Can you imagine working for an entire year and having a mission-critical failure every single hour of every single day, and still getting up and trying again and again and having the fortitude to keep going? What incredible patience and endurance. Then in 1879, Edison discovered that bamboo, when reduced to a carbon filament, could consistently burn for over 1,200 hours. Bamboo, of all things, right? Thus, the beginnings of cheap and reliable modern light was born. Creativity demands patience. If you're working on something or trying to figure out an idea, keep at it. Persevere. Good creativity depends on good ideas, and it takes a while to refine and improve and develop good ideas from bad ideas. So often, we get discouraged when our desired result constantly eludes and evades us. We may even think that we're not making any progress at all. But remember, don't mistake a lack of completion for a lack of momentum. I can't tell you the amount of times I've seen people who are on the right track, who are doing the right things, and they were on the right path towards getting to where they wanted to go. But because they didn't see what they assumed and expected would be evidences of their progress, they gave up, even though their destination and the success was just beyond their grasp and they had no idea. Don't mistake a lack of completion for lack of momentum. Wherever you are, whatever you're facing, keep trying. Maybe take a break to assess and regroup like we all do, but trust the process. Consistency is going to get you the results you want. At the end of the day, the path of obstacle and uncertainty is the only path that truly successful and creative people have ever walked. And you're in good company. Don't mistake a lack of completion for a lack of momentum. Just ask Thomas Edison. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Go Influence Life podcast. My hope is that you have found ways to rise above the noise, stand out from the crowd, and create lasting influence in leadership, business, and beyond. If you have found this to be helpful, please share it with someone else who could use some inspiration, motivation, and application for their own journey of success and influence. Remember, abundance of opportunity never comes from scarcity of thought, and success isn't about being outstanding, it's about standing out. How can you go influence life today? I'm your host, Christian Hansen, and until next time, God bless.